You know that feeling when your phone hits exactly 1% battery? It's a very specific kind of modern anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. The dreaded low power mode.
Right. The screen dims, everything slows down, apps start crashing, and you just know you have about 30 seconds before you are completely cut off from the network.
It's a universal experience at this point. Total panic.
Okay, now I want you to imagine that isn't your phone. Imagine that's you. That sluggishness, the brain fog, the inability to handle stress, that feeling of moral exhaustion where you just snap at people. What if that is just a biological low power mode?
Yeah.
And what if the reason we feel that way is that for, I don't know, the last 1,000 years, we've been plugging our chargers into a socket that isn't live?
That is a terrifying metaphor to start with, but honestly, it fits the material we are covering today perfectly. It is exactly the argument being made.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are opening a file that is, well, frankly, it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, but it is also just fascinating.
It really is.
We're looking at the Celestial Compass, a Quranic architecture of prayer, which is based on the extensive research of Dr. Khaled Waleed and his Almighty Covenant project on YouTube.
And we really need to set the stage here, because this is not your standard history lesson on Islamic tradition. Not at all.
No.
This is what you might call forensic theology. Dr. Waleed is taking a strict, and I mean strict, Quran-only approach.
What does that mean in practice?
It means he's essentially stripping away all the layers added later, the hadith, the scholarly consensus, the history books, everything written after the death of the prophet, and he's asking one single provocative question. What does the source code actually say?
And the answers he finds, they are radical. I mean, we're talking about redefining prayer from a religious ritual into a kind of bioelectric technology.
Yes, and then there's the timing.
Right. Slashing the daily schedule from 5 prayers down to just 2. And then the biggest one, the one that really shakes the foundations, we're talking about literally redrawing the map of the Holy Land.
It's a geopolitical and theological bombshell. He argues that the Holy Land, the direction of prayer, the Qibla, it isn't Mecca in Saudi Arabia.
No, he says it's Jerusalem.
It's a massive claim.
A huge claim. So before we start unrolling these maps and getting into the leads, we absolutely need our standard disclaimer.
We do.
We are here to report on Dr. Waleed's findings. These are his interpretations based on his linguistic analysis of the Quran. We aren't endorsing, we aren't condemning, we certainly aren't issuing any religious edicts.
Nope.
We are just the explorers walking you through the logic of this specific argument.
Exactly. Think of us as technical writers reviewing a manual for a new operating system. You don't have to install the OS on your own computer to appreciate how the code is structured or to understand the logic behind the design.
Right. We're just looking at the blueprints.
That's it.
Okay, I like that. So here is our roadmap for the hour. First, we're going to look at the physics of connection, why Dr. Waleed thinks prayer is actually an energy transfer.
Then the math. The controversial argument for 2 prayers instead of 5.
After that, the economics of the soul, a total rethink of zakat. And finally, we will open the file on the geography of the soul.
The tale of 2 cities, Makkah versus Baka.
It's a heavy stack.
It is, but the thread connecting it all from the timing to the geography is this idea of tuning. It's all about frequency.
Let's start right there then, the definition of prayer. When I grew up, and I think for most people, you think of prayer salah as a duty. You do because you have to. It's a debt you pay to God. You owe him, so you pay up 5 times a day.
That's the common understanding, yes. A transaction. But Dr. Waleed says, stop. Look at the word.
The word itself.
Right. He digs into the etymology, the root of the language, and he argues that the word salah shares a linguistic root with sila.
And sila means?
Connection or link. It's not a transaction, it's a cable. He defines it strictly as a connection system.
So it's not a payment, it's a plug-in.
Precisely. It's a system designed to do something.
There was a phrase in the notes that really stuck out to me. A preventative system.
Yes. This comes from the Quranic verse that says, indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing. Now, traditionally, people read that as an aspiration.
Right, like if you pray, you should be a good person. Or you're praying so that you remember to be good later. It's a reminder.
Exactly, a moral reminder. But Dr. Waleed reads it technically.
How so?
He reads it as a cause and effect mechanism. He says, if the prayer doesn't result in a behavioral change, if you walk away from prayer and immediately lie, cheat, or get angry, then the connection simply wasn't made.
So it's not that you're a bad person.
It's a technical failure.
Like pressing save on document, but the file doesn't actually save. You went through the motion of clicking the button, but the data wasn't written to the disk.
Precisely. And this is where he introduces the mechanism, which honestly sounds more like biophysics than theology. He talks about bioelectricity.
This is the earthing concept, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of earthing in wellness circles, walking barefoot on grass, but I've never heard it applied to Islamic prayer.
It is the exact same principle.
Right.
The premise is that the human body is a bioelectrical entity. Our nervous system, our brain, it all runs on tiny electrical signals.
Yeah.
But throughout the day, we accumulate charge. Stress, anxiety, anger, electromagnetic radiation from our devices. Dr. Waleed views these not just as emotions, but as static buildup. It's entropy. It's noise in the signal.
Okay, I'm with you. So when we look at the physical movements of prayer standing, bowing, prostrating, Dr. Waleed isn't seeing them as just symbolic gestures of submission.
No, not just symbolic. In this framework, they are an antenna alignment.
An antenna alignment.
You are physically positioning the chassis of the human body to optimize signal reception and discharge. He breaks it down. Standing is the reception phase, bowing is the processing, but the key, the absolute key, is the prostration.
Talk to me about the discharge, because he puts a lot of weight on the prostration, the sujood.
That is the critical moment, when the forehead touches the ground. In electrical engineering, you have to ground a circuit to prevent overload, right? You need a path for the excess current to escape safely into the earth.
Of course.
Dr. Waleed argues that sujood is biological grounding. You are literally discharging that excess negative charge, that stress, that static into the earth.
Which would explain why you feel lighter after a good meditation or prayer session.
Yeah.
You've dumped the static. He's arguing it's not just psychological, it's physiological.
And this perspective completely changes how you view wudu, or ablution.
The washing before prayer. Usually that's just framed as hygiene. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yeah.
You wash your face and arms to be presentable before God.
Right, but look at the specific parts mentioned in the text for washing. Hands, face, feet, head.
Okay.
These are the areas with the highest density of nerve endings. They are the extremities of the body's electrical system. Dr. Waleed argues that water increases conductivity.
Of course.
You aren't just washing off dirt, you are prepping the circuitry. You are lowering the electrical resistance of your skin so the signal can travel cleanly through the nervous system.
So water plus bioelectricity equals a better signal. It turns the whole thing from a ritual into a charging session.
That's the metaphor he uses, and he sticks to it. The human consciousness is in a constant battle with entropy. If you don't plug in, your battery dies.
And when the battery dies?
That's when fascia immorality, snapping at your spouse, greed, lust, that's when it starts to happen. Those are system glitches caused by low power. In his view, you aren't evil, you are just uncharged.
Wow. That is such a fascinating shift in perspective. It moves the conversation from sin to system maintenance.
It does.
But, okay, if we accept the premise that we are batteries that need charging to stop us from glitching out, the next logical question is, when do we charge? And this is where people usually get very heated when discussing Dr. Waleed's work.
Yes. This is where he throws a pretty big wrench in the gears of the standard schedule.
The standard is 5 daily prayers. Dawn, noon, afternoon, sunset, night. It's the rhythm of the Muslim world. It's the rhythm of life for over 1 billion people. But Dr. Waleed says, nope.
He claims the source text, the Quran itself, only explicitly mandates 2 physical prayer times.
2. Just 2. That is a massive reduction. At first, it sounds like he's trying to make it easier, like a prayer light version for the modern world.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
But reading through the notes, his reasoning is actually quite technical. He's not saying do less because we're busy. He's saying do it when it actually works.
Exactly. It's not about convenience. It's about those ione shifts we mentioned earlier. He calls the prayer times phase transitions.
Okay, unpack that for me. What are the 2 times and why those specific moments?
The 2 times are far, which is dawn, and isha, which is night. But he defines them very, very specifically. Fajr is the transition from total darkness to light. Isha is the transition from light back into darkness.
So sunrise and sunset, basically.
Not exactly. More like the twilight periods. The atmosphere does something very specific during these crossovers. The text refers to prayer as kitaban makoda, a book with a fixed time. Dr. Waleed argues these aren't arbitrary clock times like 1:00 p.m. or 3:30 c.m. They are cosmic events.
And he talks about the breathing of the morning. I found that line beautiful.
The morning breathes. It's a poetic line in the Quran, but he interprets it scientifically. He references the idea that this is a peak time for negative ions in the atmosphere.
Oh, really?
Yes. There is a measurable physiological change in the brain's cortical clarity at dawn. The air itself is electrically different.
So the command to wake up and pray isn't a test of willpower to see if you love God enough to get out of bed.
In this view, no.
It's wake up now because the atmospheric Wi-Fi is at full bars.
That is a perfect analogy for it, yes. The source material highlights the phrase Quran al-Fajr kana mashuda. The reading at dawn is witnessed. And Dr. Waleed interprets witnessed technically. It means the signal is strongest. It's the optimal time for a download. The channel is open and clear.
Okay, so that's the dawn prayer. What about the second one, Isha?
That's what he calls the middle prayer, or wusta. Now, this is a huge point of contention in traditional scholarship.
Because middle usually means the middle of the day, right? Noon or afternoon.
Correct. But Dr. Waleed argues that if you view the day not as a list of hours, but as a cycle of light, the middle or balance point to the dawn is the dusk. You charge up when the light comes in, and you resync when the light leaves.
It's a binary system.
Yeah.
On, off, input, output.
Great. He argues that the noon and afternoon times, while perfectly fine for meditation or rest or personal remembrance, are not obligatory in the cosmic sense because the atmospheric conditions aren't unique. The sun is just up.
There's no transition happening.
No phase transition. The ions aren't shifting. So praying then, in his framework, is like trying to charge your phone when the power is out. You can plug it in, but nothing is actually happening.
But I have to ask about the number 5. It is so ingrained. Is he saying the number 5 is just completely made up? Did someone just pull it out of a hat centuries ago?
No, and this is a really interesting nuance in his theory. He says the number 5 is in the text, and it is crucial. He's not discarding it.
There's not times.
It does not refer to 5 times on a clock. He argues it refers to 5 mental states or remembrances embedded within the prayer structure itself.
Oh, I see. So the 5 are the internal steps of the process, not 5 separate events.
Correct. He breaks down the anatomy of the prayer into 5 cognitive actions you must perform during those 2 physical times. It's a protocol.
A protocol. Okay, walk us through the protocol. What are the 5 states?
Sure. So first is takbir magnification. This is where you consciously focus your intent. You zoom out from your own petty problems and magnify the scale of the Creator.
Step 1. Got it.
Second is hamd praise. You acknowledge the source of all power and goodness. Third is tasbih. This is a hard one to translate. It means something like floating or harmonizing. It's the state where you align yourself with the cosmic order, like a planet in its orbit.
So it's about finding your place in the system.
Exactly. Fourth is shukr gratitude, consciously acknowledging what you have been given.
Like that.
And fifth, and this is a really important rereading, is istighfar.
Okay, I want to pause on istighfar, because usually that's translated as seeking forgiveness. You know, saying, I'm sorry, I messed up.
That's the common translation, yes. Guilt and forgiveness. But Dr. Waleed pushes back hard on that interpretation. He views the root of the word as meaning protection or calibrating.
Calibrate.
It's not about groveling. It's about scanning your system for errors, like running an antivirus scan on your computer and then debugging them.
Well,
it's a reset button.
That actually makes so much more sense structurally. It's like a 5-step verification protocol you run twice a day. You log in, you magnify the source, you praise it, you harmonize with the network, you're grateful for the connection, and then you debug your own code.
And that connects directly back to his idea of the human as a cosmic being. You aren't praying to apologize for existing. You are syncing your biological clock with the cosmic clock using a 5-step login sequence.
Okay, so we've got the machinery, the body as an antenna. We've got the schedule for the ionic shifts at dawn and dusk. Now let's talk about the currency. Let's talk about zakat.
Right. This is another term that gets a total makeover in this framework.
For most people, and certainly for me, zakat is the charity tax. It's one of the pillars of Islam. It's 2.5% of your accumulated wealth that you give to the poor. It's a financial transaction. You pay it, you're done for the year.
That's the jurisprudential definition that has been established for centuries. But again, Dr. Waleed goes back to the root of the word ZKW.
And that means?
It means growth, purity, or upraise.
Upraise. I like that word. It implies elevation. It sounds active, not passive.
And this is where he argues there is a fundamental split, a confusion between 2 different terms, sadaqah and zakat. Sadaqah is charity. That's what you give from your wealth to clean your money and help other people. That is the human-to-human transaction. If you want to help the poor, that's sadaqah.
And zakat is? Not that.
He argues that zakat isn't something you pay, it's something you receive.
Wait, hold on. You receive zakat. That sounds completely backwards. How could you receive a tax?
According to his reading, yes.
Huh?
He sets up a very clear input-output model. Salah, the connection, the charging session, is the human initiative. You plug yourself in. That's the input.
Okay.
The divine response to that successful connection is zakat. God grants you wisdom, purity, and elevation. That's the output.
That completely flips the script. So you don't give zakat to the poor. God gives zakat to you.
Technically, yes, that's the argument. He cites the verse. God purifies, yuzaki, whom he wills. Dr. Waleed argues that the command, establish salah and bring zakat, actually means establish the connection and bring about the result of that connection.
So you pay in discipline, the discipline of salah.
And you get paid in wisdom, which is zakat.
It really fits that software analogy again. You plug in, that's salah. The server downloads the patch that fixes your bugs and upgrades your system. That's zakat. You can't pay a patch to someone else. You have to install it on your own machine.
It's an economic of the soul. And it solves a big logical problem, doesn't it?
What's that?
If zakat is just a money tax, what do poor people do? Can they not participate in one of the pillars of their faith because they have no money to give?
That's a good point.
In Dr. Waleed's view, everyone can participate because everyone can receive spiritual elevation regardless of their bank account. It democratizes the spiritual benefit.
Right. Wow. We have rewired the body, we have rescheduled the day, and we have redefined the spiritual economy. Now we have to look at the map. Because if Dr. Waleed is right about this next part, pretty much everyone is holding their compass upside down.
This is, without a doubt, the most controversial aspect of his research. The question of the Qibla, the direction of prayer.
For over 1 billion people, for centuries, that direction is Mecca in Saudi Arabia, the Kaaba, the black cube. It is the undisputed center of the Islamic world. But Dr. Waleed says, look again.
He argues that based on Quranic linguistics and geography, the current Mecca is not the mother of towns or the safe sanctuary mentioned in the text.
So what is?
He identifies the true Qibla as a place called Bakka.
Now, wait. Usually scholars say Bakka is just an ancient name for Mecca, like calling New York the Big Apple or calling Los Angeles Tinseltown. It's the same place.
Dr. Waleed rejects that synonym theory completely. He says there are two distinct places with two distinct functions, and he uses a theological argument he calls the pairs, or Zaj argument.
This goes back to that idea that God created everything in pairs.
Yes. The source material emphasizes again and again that God alone is one. Everything else in creation is a pair, male and female, day and night, matter and antimatter. It's a fundamental principle of creation.
And so he applies that to geography.
Therefore, he argues, the spiritual geography must also be a pair. You cannot have a monopoly on location. There can't be just one central point.
So if there's a blessed town, there must be a forbidden or cursed town.
Exactly. He posits a binary, the safe sanctuary, which is Bakka, versus the forbidden town, which he says is Makkah.
A blessed pole and a forbidden pole. And he identifies Bakka, the good place, the active antenna, as Jerusalem.
Yes, Al-Quds. He argues Bakka is the first house established for mankind, the place of blessing and guidance, mentioned in Surah Al-Imran of the Quran. He connects the linguistics of Bakka, which can imply crowding or the center of something, to the Temple Mount, the Angel's Rock.
The center of prophecy for the Abrahamic faiths.
The very same.
Okay, so if Jerusalem is the target, the place of connection, what is Mecca in this model?
This is where the source material gets very dark and very explicit. Dr. Waleed identifies Makkah not as the holy sanctuary, but as the forbidden town, the Muharrama.
Forbidden sounds bad, but traditionally, haram means sacred, right? Like Masjid al-Haram, the sacred mosque. We hear that all the time.
And this is a crucial linguistic debate in his work. He says there's a massive distinction between haram, which means sacred or systemized, and muharram, which means forbidden or restricted.
So a very different meaning.
A completely different meaning. Dr. Waleed argues that the town of Makkah, the current one in Saudi Arabia, was restricted or forbidden by God.
Restricted why? What is the history there? Why would God forbid a town?
The sources describe it as a place associated with the party of Satan and Taghut, which means tyranny or idolatry. He explicitly calls the structure there Masjid Diyar.
Masjid Diyar. I know that term. That's a specific concept in the Quran, isn't it? A mosque of harm.
Yes. There is a story in the Quran where a group of hypocrites builds a mosque not for piety, but to cause division and harm among the believers, and God warns the prophet never to stand or pray in it.
And Dr. Waleed argues that the current structure in Mecca fits the description of this mosque of division.
That is his argument, yes.
That's a heavy accusation. It basically says the center of the faith is actually the anti-center.
He backs it up with geography and what he calls the table of truth. He creates a side-by-side comparison of the two locations based on Quranic descriptions.
Okay, what's on the table?
On one hand, you have the blessed land of olives and figs, Jerusalem, fits that agricultural description perfectly. But the Quran describes the other place as a valley without cultivation, a dry well, which
This fits the geography of Mecca.
perfectly. And there was something in the notes you mentioned earlier about a star. Sirius.
Yeah, the satanic Sirius centrality. What's that about?
The source material suggests that the orientation and pre-Islamic culture of that region and even the current Mecca are tied to the worship of the star Sirius, which is called Al-Shira in Arabic. He argues that this represents the Taqut, the idol of tyranny.
So let me get this straight. In this model, he's saying that when you turn to Mecca to pray, you aren't just facing a neutral direction or even a misunderstood one. You are pointing your antenna at a dead or forbidden frequency.
That's his conclusion. He argues that to tune the soul effectively, to get a clear signal, one must physically face the center of prophecy, the place where the angels descend, which he identifies as the rock in Jerusalem. He views it as the neck of the earth, the primary connection point.
It's a tale of two cities, essentially. A twin cities theory of spiritual geography.
It absolutely is. And the source breaks it down into clear camps. On one side, you have Bakka, which is Jerusalem.
Okay.
This location is associated with the faithful, with what the Quran calls Hezbollah, not the modern political group, but the literal party of God. It's associated with the Angel's Rock and with guidance.
And the other side?
On the other side, you have Mecca, and he sometimes links this region to ancient Petra. This is associated with the party of Satan, with high palaces, and with the dry well.
This also completely reframes the whole concept of Hajj or pilgrimage too, doesn't it? If you go to the wrong place, are you just wandering?
Dr. Waleed would say you are visiting the ruins, or the forbidden zone. He highlights that linguistic debate about the word harama. He argues God restricted Harama, that town, to prevent its corruption from spreading, whereas he blessed the sanctuary in Jerusalem.
So turning toward the forbidden town.
It connects the believer to a blocked signal.
Yeah.
It's like trying to connect to a Wi-Fi router that has been specifically banned by the network administrator. The signal just isn't there.
This is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just a different opinion. It's a complete inversion of the status quo. It challenges 1,400 years of tradition.
It does.
But let's bring it all back down to the individual listener. Say someone hears this and they buy into it. They accept the physics, the timing, the geography. They decide to follow Dr. Waleed's celestial compass. What does their life actually look like on a day-to-day basis?
It creates what the notes call the integrated lifestyle of a cosmic being.
Cosmic being. It sounds lofty, almost superhero-like. But practically, how do we do that? What is the daily routine?
It's the direct and connect model. It's actually very streamlined, very simple in its application.
Okay, walk me through the steps. Step 1.
Location. First, you have to orient your compass. You stop facing the forbidden direction. You physically turn your face toward the source of light and prophecy, which in this model is Jerusalem. You are aiming your antenna at the active transmitter. You are locking on to the correct signal.
Okay, simple enough. Step 2.
Time. You stop worrying about arbitrary clock times interrupting your meetings or your day. You sync with the cosmos. You catch the ionic wave at dawn when the world breathes in, and you catch the wave at night when the world breathes out. You're surfing the energy tides of the planet.
I like that image, surfing the energy tides. And step 3.
Action. You perform the grounding, sujud. You physically discharge the negativity and the static you've built up through the day. You clear your cache. And while you're doing that, you run the 5 mental states: magnify, praise, harmonize, thank, and debug.
And the result of all this isn't just that you're a good person in a moral sense.
No, the result is zakat. You get the upgrade. You receive wisdom. You avoid fasha, that moral buffering we talked about, because your system is running on clean energy.
Yeah.
You are operating at optimal efficiency.
Buffering, that's such a powerful image for today.
Right.
We have all felt that spiritual buffering, that lag where you feel disconnected, anxious, fuzzy. You're trying to load a page in your mind, but the wheel just keeps spinning.
Exactly.
You're trying to be patient with your kids, but the patience file won't load.
And Dr. Waleed's argument is that the lag is caused by bad tech support. We've been using the wrong manual, plugging into the wrong outlet at the wrong times. We've been trying to run a high-performance operating system on low battery mode, and it just doesn't work.
It transforms prayer from a debt you owe God into a survival tool for yourself?
Precisely. The source material ends with this definition. Prayer is not a tax paid to a demanding king. It is a charging station for a traveler in a harsh environment. It's necessary for survival.
You know, whether you agree with Dr. Waleed's conclusions or not, and we know they are extremely controversial, likely upsetting to many traditionalists, you have to appreciate the internal logic of it.
You do.
It's a completely cohesive system. Biology matches physics, physics matches geography, and geography matches the theology he lays out.
That is the allure of the Quran-only approach he takes. By ignoring the external noise of history and tradition, he tries to build a machine that works based solely on the blueprint of the text. And the machine he's built, this celestial compass, is incredibly streamlined. It strips away all the excess and focuses purely on function.
Two prayers, one true direction. Spiritual growth is a download. It's sufficient.
It is direct and connect.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just recap the major paradigm shifts we've uncovered in Dr. Waleed's work.
We've moved from 5 ritual times to 2 cosmic ionic shifts. We've redefined zakat from a financial tax that you pay to a spiritual upraise that you receive from God.
And most dramatically, we've shifted the Qibla, the direction of prayer, from what he calls the forbidden town of Mecca, associated with the party of Satan, to the blessed sanctuary Jerusalem, associated with the party of God.
It's a total rereading.
And again, all of this is attributed to the research and linguistic analysis of Dr. Waleed and the Almighty Covenant Project. It's a radical rereading, but one that invites you to look at the text with fresh eyes.
And to look at the sky with fresh eyes.
Exactly. I want to leave you with a thought today. We talked a lot about antennas and signals. In our modern world, we panic if our Wi-Fi drops 1 bar. We know that if our phone is pointed the wrong way or we're in a dead zone, we can't communicate. We get that concept instinctively.
We understand the physics of communication technology perfectly when it comes to our gadgets. We would never, ever expect a phone to work if it wasn't connected to the network.
Right. So here's the question. If the human soul is the most sophisticated receiver ever created, what happens to the clarity of your picture if you've been pointing at the wrong signal tower for 1,000 years?
Are we all spiritually buffering because we are plugged into the forbidden outlet rather than the blessed one?
Something to think about the next time you see the dawn breaking. Thanks for diving deep with us.
That's what it's.
Keep your compass true.